Hello everyone. Today I'm going to show you how I make Raspberry Lemonade Cupcake Candles. So I've already kind of got everything measured out, but I want to express to you what I've done so far. So I use for the base of my cupcake a silicone mold. Pretty much I melt the wax down, I pour it in here. I don't add the wick yet, but I just pour my wax in here, let my bases solidify. And then I have a second mixture where this is going to be the icing that I pipe onto the cupcake once the base is completely solidified. So the silicone molds that I have will hold 2.75 ounces, and I'm going to make 6 cupcakes today. So when I do the math, I have gotten a volume of wax of 16.5. So I've got that measured out in this pot here. And I typically like to do about 3 ounces of icing on the cupcake. So I've got 18 ounces of wax measured out in this pot here that I'm going to pipe on after. I have decided, because it's raspberry lemonade, that I'm going to do my bases like a yellow color, and then I'm going to do my icing almost like a light red or a light pink color. And then I'm going to top the cupcake off with some red glitter and a little slice of lemon. So I'm going to get these melted and I'll be back. Thank you. Okay, so we're back. I've gone ahead and melted down all of the soy wax in both of these melting pots, so now we're going to move on. I'm going to start by focusing on the melting pot that has the wax in it for the icing portion of our cupcake candle. And the reason I want to focus on it first is because once we mix the fragrance oil and the coloring dye, I can actually transfer that into my pot and just set it aside to start solidifying, because it really needs to get to a consistency that I can put it in a piping bag so that we can pipe it onto our candle. So this is going to take a little bit of time because it is 18 ounces of wax, which is a larger volume. It could take up to a couple of hours to get it to a point where it's at that perfect piping consistency. So we're gonna start here. Again, with my cupcake vision, I'm gonna do the base kind of a yellow color to go with the lemonade, and then the icing I'm gonna do more of the red for the raspberry. So I'm gonna start by adding a little bit of dye to our pot here. I only added 1 drop. It's easier to add than it is to take away. So 1 drop is usually, I go 1 drop at a time. And then to test to see if that's the color that I want, I just put a little bit on my aluminum foil, let it solidify, and then I'm able to kind of go from there. So while that's solidifying, I'm going to move on to the lemonade base. A little bit more to my raspberry icing. Right now it's kind of a pale pink color. Same with my yellow. I'm going to add another drop of that. And I think I'm pretty happy with this raspberry icing. So once you have the wax dyed the color that you want, you can go ahead and add your fragrance oil in. I stir it really well to ensure that the fragrance oil is dispersed nice and even throughout the soy wax. And then I'm going to take this wax and put it in a different container. The reason I put it in a different container is because the melting pot is hot from me melting the wax on the stove. And I've just found that by changing the container, it tends to start the solidifying process a little bit faster. I don't have to wait as long. All right, so now that that's in the pot, I'm gonna check this one here. And I'm pretty happy with that. So we're gonna add our fragrance oil. Okay, we are at the point now where we can fill our silicone cupcake bases. I'm gonna grab my nifty little dispensing spout. This is the best money I've ever spent. This is a pancake dispenser, pancake mix dispenser. I bought it off of, I think, Amazon for $20 or $25. And it's great because I can pour my wax in here and it's got this little handle and I can get a nice, even, consistent pour. I'm not splattering it everywhere. I'm not making a big mess. So best investment that I've ever made. So I'm gonna pour my mixture into my dispensing container. And then from there, I'm going to start filling each of the bases. Okay, so while our cupcake bases and icing are solidifying, I'm going to continue on making the embeds for our cupcake candles. I'm going to top each cupcake with a little tiny slice of lemon. And so I took 4 ounces of wax and I've melted that in this little melting pot, colored it with yellow, and then I'm just going to pour it into the silicone mold, let it solidify, and then I cut them down. So I'm going to go ahead and pour this. So while that is solidifying, I'm going to go ahead and take my knife. These embeds I already made, and I'm going to slice them. If you struggle to cut your embeds, you can take your knife and heat it on the stove, get it hot, and that tends to allow you to slice through it a little bit easier. 1 lemon slice is going to yield 4 pieces for us to use. If you have a little bit of remnants on the knife like that, I recommend wiping it off before you try to cut the next one, just because it tends to kind of clog up the knife and get in the way, and it can actually cause you to break your embed. So we're gonna wipe this excess off. There we go. So our raspberry lemonade cupcakes are well on their way. I'll be back. Okay, so our cupcake bases have completely solidified. So we're going to remove the silicone liner and get them ready for the wick. So these silicone liners are really nice because they just roll right off of the base. So the way that I create a hole to put the wick through is I use this like hollow skewer, and I simply just kind of center it and push down, and it kind of creates this little hole in the center of my cupcake, and then I'm able to take the wick and guide it through that hole that we've made. Just like that. So our cupcakes now have a wick, and so I'm going to move on by putting our icing mixture into the piping bag so that we can pipe our icing onto our cupcake. Okay, so we are ready to start icing our raspberry lemonade cupcakes. I've gone ahead and got out a piping bag. I've cut the tip off, and I'm going to insert my metal 1M tip into the piping bag. Then I'm going to insert my piping bag into this container and drape it over. I have found that by doing it this way, it allows me to get the mixture into the bag without a whole lot of struggle. So the consistency of my icing, it's pretty thick. It's going to make great cupcake icing. So get this scooped in. This down to the bottom of the bag. There we go. And we are going to pipe these just like you would a normal cupcake. bring this over. Typically, I like to build up around the wick first and then do a nice swirl, but you can do it however you prefer. And then I'm going to take my red pop glitter and I'm just going to sprinkle on a little bit. I like to do this after, like immediately after I've piped the cupcake, simply because the wax is still a little bit soft and the glitter tends to adhere better to it at this point in the process. So now we are at the point where we can add our lemon embed. I'm only putting enough of the embed into the wax to get it to stick, but I want a majority of it visible, so I'm not putting a lot. All right, so there we have our Raspberry Lemonade Cupcake. So I am going to let this set aside for a little bit just to really harden up nicely. I will trim the wick and I will curl it before I box this up for sale. So thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. Thank you and have a great day.